Hey everyone, this is your captain speaking, and welcome to part 2 of my video series on the current and upcoming astrology. In this video, we're going to go into more detail, looking at the astrology week by week, especially focusing on this Virgo season that we're entering into, 2 new moons in Virgo. We've got some amazing alignments with Venus and Mars and grand trines and kites and all kinds of amazing energies, really powerful energies to get moving in your life. And so let's dive into it. If you end up liking the video, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to my channel. Check out the link to my email list below. I've got a promotion that's happening right now. And if you sign up for my email list, you'll be able to get a big discount on my readings. I love doing astrology and tarot readings, so please take advantage of this promotion. And also, I've got a free Zoom gathering, a new moon gathering happening this Saturday, the 23rd. If you want to find out how to sign up for that, you got to be on my email list. So please sign up. And now let's get into the video. So as I'm recording this, you can see it's August 16th, Saturday, almost 4:30 p.m. And you can see what I've been talking about here. The moon's conjunct Uranus here in the first degree of Gemini, Pluto in the second degree of Aquarius, Saturn and Neptune in the first degree of Aries. And if we just go back a few days here, you can see where Mars moved into Libra back around, I think it was August 6th, opposite the Saturn-Neptune in that tight grand trine with Uranus and Pluto, forming what's called a Kite formation. And you can also see the Venus-Jupiter conjunction coming in here. Total paradox to have Mars opposite Saturn, one of the most challenging and potentially frustrating energies. At the same time, you have a Jupiter-Venus conjunction, which is so heart-opened and pleasure-oriented and socially positive, that kind of thing. And then you can also see the Mercury. Mercury was retrograde until, what day was it? August 11th, I guess 5 days ago, but stationing opposite Pluto. So all those energies, super dynamic. And now coming back to today, and let me just show you where the moon comes on here. On the 18th, all of a sudden there was this sound in the room. I was wondering, is that the air conditioning? It seems like it just got way louder. But actually what's happening is it started to really rain out there. That's another thing with Mars, Saturn, Neptune. Saturn, Neptune generally can have challenging things that happen with the water element. Of course, Neptune having to do with water. And we had that big flooding incident that happened in Texas. That was before the Saturn, or it was before Mars came onto it. But was it? Yeah, I don't think Mars was on yet, but the Saturn Neptune was super strong. And one of the things that's happened right after I got back here to Santa Marta was there was a huge rainstorm that created some pretty major flooding. And so, yeah, if you hear that sound in the background, that's some real strong rain coming down. So yeah, now looking ahead, if we go forward a couple of days, you can see on the 18th, the moon comes into Cancer. And actually that morning, if we just go back earlier that day, let's see. Yeah, maybe not on the 18th. On the 19th is when the moon really starts to come into the triple conjunction, and it's exact on the 20th. Or I should say the moon-Venus conjunction is exact, which is, of course, if you follow the channel, There's been a big focus here and in my life, in my astrology practice, on the monthly Moon-Venus conjunctions, which are called Venus gates or rose gates. And I always encourage everyone to try to get out to see these Moon-Venus conjunctions, as they are so beautiful and so special. And they have everything to do with love and intimacy and being sweet and gentle with yourself and with those you love. So great for connecting with loved ones, but ultimately have a lot to do with teaching us how to love ourselves better, how to practice loving kindness with ourselves and others. And so I like to get out every month to see them. Right now, they're in the morning sky for 7 months, 8 months, and then they'll go on the other side of Venus will be on the other side of the sun for 2-3 months and won't be visible. But after that, she'll come into the evening sky, and there'll be 7 or 8 evening sky Moon-Venus conjunctions. And there's something about going out to see them every month that is a kind of ritual engagement with the sky that has this beautiful gift of heart opening. And I think when you do this, Venus and the moon pull you towards more love and intimacy in your life. And so, yes, this is the next Moon-Venus conjunction, and it does start to come in on the 19th. It'll be super beautiful to see the triple conjunction the morning of the 19th. The moon will be above Jupiter, and Jupiter will be approximately halfway between Venus and the moon. It'll look very, it'll look very geometrically balanced. And the next morning, at least here in North and South America, it will be exactly conjunct within 1 degree, the moon and Venus, and the two of them will be below Jupiter about 7 degrees, but it'll be super striking, the three of them together. And of course, Jupiter makes things bigger and brings joy and expansion. And so that moon-Venus energy, which every month gives a kind of potential for bringing more love, sweetness, compassion, gentleness into our life, Jupiter makes that even bigger. It expands the heart. It makes the mother force bigger. It brings more emotional support, more emotional abundance. And so I think if you ritualize this Moon, Jupiter, Venus conjunction this week and make a point to try to get out to see it and be receptive to its guidance and support, that there's this potential for catching a wave of love and abundance that continues to support you for the whole rest of the year and into next year, until the next Jupiter-Venus conjunction, which I think is next June. But anyway, please try to get out to see it. If you can't, or if the sky isn't clear, if you got rain like we got here right now, then yeah, you can still kind of look in the direction of the triple conjunction, look in the direction of the east, and just be receptive to it. Be receptive to the planet's energy and allow it to support and guide you. So yes, the next thing I want to name here is, you can see the next day on the 21st, the moon starts to conjoin Mercury, but then it's moving towards the sun. It's moving towards the new moon. It's in Leo here at this point, but later, it's actually the next day, on Saturday the 23rd. Let's just see. It's a little earlier. I think actually it's on the 22nd that the exact new moon forms, but super strong on the 22nd and the 23rd, and it's Virgo. So it's Virgo, of course, is an earth sign, and so there's something about it that brings us back to earth, brings us into our bodies, brings us more into a practical dimension. After the fire sign Leo, which we're still in as I'm recording this, we're at peak summertime here in the northern hemisphere, and so there's peak fire, peak warmth, peak shining energy. It's when we get outside, we spend more time in the outdoors, and we're more likely to go traveling, on vacation, where we're kind of moving out into the world beyond our ordinary kind of grounded lives. But as we move towards Virgo season here in the last week of Leo, it's like we're kind of coming back to earth, coming back to our bodies, coming back to our health. It's harvest season, typically, it's the time where people are starting to harvest the crops. Depending on what the crop is, the timing is different, but it's approximately that time of year where all of your hard work, tilling the fields of your own life, investing all of your life force energy in the different projects of the year. It's like those efforts have been paid off, and you're starting to reap the rewards and the benefits of all of that work of the year. Virgo is associated with health and healing. And so it's like you're gathering the medicines of the year and starting to organize them. Virgo's a lot about organization. The stereotype of Virgos is they really need things to be in order. And so there can be a kind of compulsive need to get things organized. But it's just the natural way in which Earth brings us back to Earth, brings us back into the practical domain. And part of that is just getting organized and gathering all those medicines from the yield of the crops and starting to put them into the different categories. Okay, there's this medicine that I'm going to put in this medicine bottle, or I'm going to can the fruits that need to be preserved for wintertime, that kind of thing. But it's really harvesting the wisdom of the year, harvesting all the benefits of the lessons and learnings of the year, and gathering those medicines in service of the projects of the rest of the year. I think that's a big part of Virgo season. It's like you're resting and restoring and focusing on health, focusing on getting organized as you move towards the equinox. As you move towards the equinox and begin the final push for the rest of the year. And so, I don't know if you're feeling that. Sometimes this is the time of year where children go back to school, and there's that kind of shift of energy from being out playing and coming back in to focus more on the learning journey. And so maybe you're feeling some of that back to school energy, time to get organized, time to get focused. And I think this new moon coming up on Saturday is a great moment to kind of ritualize the beginning of Virgo season and a commitment to your health, a commitment to your body, a commitment to organizing the medicines that you need for the rest of your journey this year. And so again, I'm going to have a new moon gathering, a free new moon Zoom gathering on Saturday. If you're interested in that, sign up for my email list if you're not already on it, and you'll get information about how to join us. And so, yes, that's the new moon in Virgo. And so I'm going to take a look at my notes now. So just one more thing about Virgo and the beginning of Virgo season. Once we're in Virgo, we're heading towards the equinox. We're heading towards Libra. And Libra is all about coming back to balance. And there's a way in which when we move into Leo season, as we've been right now, that peak fire energy, there's a way in which we're kind of out of balance at the solstices. And as you move into the mutable sign, Virgo, it's kind of you're shifting out of that being out of balance and moving back towards balance. So this coming month, I think, is a lot about coming back into balance and figuring out what that means for you. And so I think as we get to the new moon on Saturday, really reflecting on that, meditating on like what's out of balance. Is my health out of balance, especially there? And so making strong intentions to focus on your health during Virgo season is one of the best things you can do. But it could be other areas as well where you're out of balance. You're too in your mind, not enough in your body. You're up in the air, or you're too full of fire, and you need to come back to earth. You need to ground. You got to get a little more practical, a little more pragmatic. And so, yes. Now, the next thing that I want to name here, I want to be sure. Well, first, let's take a look at the fact that as Venus moves off of Jupiter, it moves into an opposition to Pluto. So this expanded heart energy continues in a way, or I should say the amplification of Venus continues as it moves into the opposition with Pluto, which, you know, when would I say that starts? I mean, doing the wrong movement here. I mean, really, when we're at this triple conjunction, the Moon, Venus, Jupiter triple conjunction on the 19th and 20th, at that point, Venus is moving within 9-10 degrees of the opposition to Pluto. We're moving later this year towards a Jupiter-Pluto opposition coming in. And so that's how Venus can be on Jupiter, and then very soon after that, opposite Pluto. And so Jupiter expands the Venus love force, pleasure force, beauty force, and Pluto intensifies it. So it's like whatever's expanding and opening in terms of your heart and intimacy, it gets deeper, more passionate, more intense during the next couple of weeks when Venus is opposite Pluto. It gets exactly opposite Pluto here on August 25th and 26th, but it continues for a few days after that, or a week after that or so. Let's see. I don't know. I would say it's strong until the end of August, the Venus-Pluto opposition. It continues beyond that, but it's definitely strong from later this week until the end of the month. And I would just expect that it would continue to put a focus on love and intimacy in your life. And again, like whatever's opening up this week, there's the potential for it getting deeper, more intense. You know, you can face more shadow stuff in terms of love and intimacy. You can have more drama in that area. But as long as you're kind of honoring the love relationships in your life and kind of committing to work through whatever's emerging in those relationships, as well as honoring your needs of love and intimacy in other ways. It's like with Pluto, Venus wants to go deep. It wants to have deep, satisfying intimacy. And so definitely keeping the focus on your love relationships and your intimacy with yourself and others. I think there's a big potential in the next couple of weeks for more self-love and deeper intimacy with your own beauty and your own love force and your capacity to feel more deeply intimate with yourself. And so, that's Venus opposite Pluto. And then a few days after that, the next thing I want to be sure to mention is at the full moon. So a couple weeks after this coming Saturday, the full moon in Pisces, opposite the Virgo sun, that is a lunar eclipse. And so it begins eclipse season. And if you've followed me in the past, I've definitely talked about eclipse season before, but it's a couple of weeks. In this case, it's a lunar eclipse followed by 2 weeks later a partial solar eclipse. The total lunar eclipse is visible in Europe and Africa and Asia and Australia. It's not visible in North and South America. The solar eclipse is really not visible except in southern Australia, and then it's mostly like in Antarctica. But regardless of whether these eclipses are visible, it is a deep time when the sun and the moon are more precisely aligned with the Earth's orbit around the sun. And so there's this kind of charged energy that is the signature of eclipse season. And it's kind of like there's a supercharged full moon and a supercharged new moon energy, and themes around the balancing of the solar and the lunar dimensions of life. The thing that I've noticed the most is it tends to be more intense in terms of interpersonal dynamics, family dynamics, working through karma, like working with hidden dynamics, hidden energies. You know, the way in which the light of the moon is darkened by the earth moving between the sun and the moon, the shadow of the earth blocking the light of the moon. And so, or it's the shadow of the moon that's blocking the light of the sun in the case of a solar eclipse. And so there's this kind of metaphor there of going into the hidden, darker reaches of the psyche. And I think eclipse season each year is a kind of opportunity to go deeper into your own unconscious material, especially in your relationship life and family life. But the potential for healing and transformation during eclipse season, I think, is really powerful. And so just noting that that's going to be happening. Eclipse season between September 6th and 7th at the lunar eclipse, and then the solar eclipse is happening on the 21st. September 21st is the solar eclipse, and that one, let's skip ahead to that. Let's go forward 2 weeks to the 21st. Let's take a look at that solar eclipse here. Look at what's going on here. That new moon, the second new moon in Virgo, is perfectly aligned with that same sweet spot where Mars has been recently. And so the sun and moon and Mercury's also there, are all three opposite the Saturn-Neptune conjunction and forming a grand trine with the Uranus-Pluto trine and a larger kite formation. And you can see also here this pentagon formation, five-sided geometry, the sextile between Venus and Mars here, and the square between Mars and Pluto. I'm going to come back to that. Yeah, this other square here between Venus and Uranus. This is a crazy alignment on September 21st. And so it's like from the first new moon in Virgo this coming Saturday to a month later on September 21st, right at the equinox. So it's supercharged in terms of the equinox. It's supercharged because it's a solar eclipse, and it's also supercharged because it's dynamically interacting with all the outer planets, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto, with these extra squares happening to boot. It's too complex to unpack all of that, but I think some of what I shared about the Mars, Saturn, Neptune, and Mars, Uranus, Pluto grand trine is also relevant when it comes to this alignment here. With the sun lighting up the Saturn, Neptune themes, and the sun kind of igniting the potential of the Uranus, Pluto, the potential for awakenings and powerful changes, and the potential for some of the technology stuff being activated again. All of that is super strong here at the equinox and at this second new moon in Virgo. And so I'm going to return to that, but I want to go back a moment to be sure to focus on something else that's coming in here very soon. Here we are back today. I want to be sure to name that we're moving into, right at this next new moon, this coming Saturday, you can see that Mars is starting to get tightly square to Jupiter. And then as it moves past the square to Jupiter, it moves into a square with Pluto. And so this is another strong Mars energy. And I think it's important to understand the positive potential with Mars square Jupiter. It is so great for kind of confidently moving forward. We've already got the new moon fresh start energy coming in, but at the same time overlapping with it is this Mars Jupiter, where Mars is that kind of confident warrior energy, aiming for the goal, pursuing the adventure, and Jupiter expands and grants success to that. And so it's like the confident, bold warrior, strongly moving towards the goal, taking action, leaping towards the target. So I just feel like as we get to this new moon, there's also going to be this extra push of energy and potential confidence for rallying to move forward in your life to whatever degree under the Mars-Saturn opposition, which is still there. You can see Mars is just 6 degrees opposite Saturn, and the potential for like blocked energy, frustrated energy. As we move forward into the Mars square Jupiter, I think there's a likelihood of things opening up even more. And so, yeah, again, I feel like this coming week is likely to be a kind of turning point for a lot of people, and really great for kind of moving strongly forward into the fall, into the autumn, and whatever your projects are for the rest of the year. And so there's that Mars square Jupiter. It's strong. Let's see where it's exact here. Maybe this is a good point to mention when it's conjunct the moon on the 26th. That really lights it up. And at that point, Mars is 4 degrees square to Jupiter. That's when it would really be strongly happening. But it continues beyond that. It gets exactly square Jupiter around here on September 4th, as we're kind of moving into the eclipse season. What is that? It's on the 6th. The 6th and the 7th, when the moon is opposite the sun and the full moon. And so, yeah, the Mars square Jupiter energy is really kicking in around here. And the full moon, of course, is peak energy for the month. And it's also that lunar eclipse energy. So things are getting really supercharged as we get into this part of September. And you can see at this point also that, the sun and Mercury are kind of moving up towards the Saturn-Neptune, into that sweet spot that I showed you a little while ago. And so, yeah, now if we move forward, as Mars moves off of the Jupiter, it's moving on to Pluto. And so for the whole next month, there's just a supercharged Mars energy. Mars square Pluto can be really intense and extreme, and definitely there's the potential for challenges on a global scale wherever there's like military conflict. Mars Pluto is particularly associated with violence and extremes of aggression. It's also like a really strong leadership energy. So the potential for a leader emerging in different contexts that helps move whatever situation towards a more positive result. There's definitely that potential, maybe especially with Mars square Jupiter, where there might be some kind of leader on the global political stage that just forces things towards a particular direction. Now, that could be a problematic direction. It could also be a more positive direction. But I think just generally to have such strong Mars energy where it's not in the Saturn alignment, where it could be more blocked and frustrated, that it's opening up into these more dynamic squares with Jupiter and Pluto. Again, I think really supportive for energy moving strongly forward in your life. And so, yes, that's the Mars Jupiter square, the Mars Pluto square. And then just looking at this alignment as it's forming at this point, the Sun Mercury conjunction, as Mercury's been retrograde, it's now moving forward. It's going to catch up with the Sun. And when it does, it's starting to be opposite Saturn and Neptune. And yeah, there's a lot that could be said about this period. I think it starts to kick in around here strongly, and they're both within 5 degrees of Saturn. Definitely there earlier at this point. Yeah, on the 13th, they're 8 degrees opposite Saturn. I think I got that wrong. It's, yeah, they move pretty quickly here. So I guess it's 6-7 degrees on the 14th of September, about 4 or 5 weeks from now. And you can see they get into this sweet spot here, opposite Saturn and Neptune, and forming the grand trine with Uranus and Pluto. And so, yes, complex to unpack what this could represent, but another really dynamic activation of the outer planet energies, activation for sure of the Saturn Neptune and all the themes of Saturn Neptune in terms of spiritual maturity, spiritual wisdom, working with challenging states of consciousness, but the likelihood of it being a kind of turning point in your life for major spiritual development, major psychospiritual growth, the fact that it's both Sun and Mercury opposite Neptune gives the potential for spiritual openings of all sorts. The Mercury Neptune is classic for spiritual downloads, spiritual psychic experience, spiritual lessons and learnings, and that whole territory of Mercury Neptune that, yeah, has a lot to do with developing intuition and working with divinatory tools and kind of dissolving the ordinary mind and opening it more towards the spiritual direction. That's Mercury opposite Neptune, but it's also opposite Saturn. And so the potential for difficult mind states. It's one of the ultimate alignments, Mercury, Saturn, Neptune, for working with the challenging states of mind. But it's also the ultimate alignment for training the mind, working with meditation tools of different sorts, working with tools like astrology and tarot and other divinatory systems to overcome whatever mental blockages or contractions of consciousness that might be there. Another big one for working with prayer, meditation, any kind of spiritual tools to deal with the Saturn-Neptune challenges that we've talked about. And at the same time, the Sun and Mercury are coming onto this grand trine and forming this larger kite pattern. At the same time, Mars is squaring Jupiter and Pluto, and you can see the moons on it here. But at the same time, the Sun and Mercury are dealing with the Saturn energy, blocking and frustrating and bringing challenges. The Uranus-Pluto grand trine gives the potential for flowering and freeing and awakening, and the potential for really exciting states of mind, really exciting mental breakthroughs. And so this is a time where you really want to create some space in your life for deep psychotherapeutic work, psychospiritual growth work. And to whatever degree you can create that space, the potential for spiritual development, spiritual advancement, the potential for kind of mind training skills coming online that maybe you've been working with for a long time, but you haven't quite got there. This could be the alignment where you overcome previous challenges, whatever blockages that were there, and some kind of big spiritual breakthrough, some kind of big breakthrough in terms of navigating your own consciousness, navigating your own mind states. That kind of thing is really amplified here. And again, it comes to a peak. You can see Mercury's right on it here around September 17th, 1 degree from both Saturn and Neptune. The sun's a few degrees behind, but they're both really strongly lighting things up here around September 17th. Mercury moves into Libra on the 18th, and then again, it's at this new moon, which is also in the last degree of Virgo. The one this coming Saturday is in the first degree of Virgo, and the second one is in the last degree of Virgo. And so a kind of another emphasis of the Virgo energy just really being fully sustained through the whole month, but that it's so exactly aligned with the Saturn, Neptune, and the Uranus, Pluto trine. I don't know. This is definitely the kind of alignment where you could have a major personal breakthrough in your life, while maybe at the same time working with a major psycho-spiritual growth edge. That's the kind of thing I might expect. It's the kind of alignment where maybe you could learn something. That's a major breakthrough with Mercury trine Pluto, Mercury trine Uranus, Mercury opposite Saturn and Neptune, the kinds of learning experiences, reading experiences, teaching experiences, communication challenges and gifts and lessons. All of that is super emphasized here around the equinox. And so I hope I'll be making another video as we get to that point, and maybe by then I'll have more awareness of what's possible with it. But until then, I hope this has been helpful. If it has, hit the like button. Love to have you subscribe and be on my channel. And consider signing up for my email list so you can get notified of my promotion and the free new moon gathering coming up. And yeah, sending blessings, love, light, kindness to you all. And till next time, this is your captain signing off. Be well.